Have you ever stopped to think that you might be being controlled by something that should be under your control? Right now, as you watch this video, sophisticated algorithms are working to capture every second of your attention, to turn you into a product of a machine that never sleeps. And the scariest thing? You may not even realize it's happening. Imagine Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, trying to rule Rome while receiving 150 notifications a day. Or Epictetus trying to teach about inner freedom while his phone vibrated every 2 minutes. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? But that's exactly what we're living through today. Our Stoic ancestors faced wars, plagues, and tyrannies. We face something even more subtle and dangerous, the tyranny of fragmented attention. The numbers are scary. The average Brazilian spends more than 9 hours a day looking at screens. That means that by the age of 70, you will have spent 22 years of your life on digital devices. 22 years. Imagine all the deep conversations you could have had, all the moments of contemplation, all the relationships that could have blossomed in that time. But here's the good news, and that's why you're here today. The same philosophers who developed mental tools to deal with external tyrants can teach us how to deal with internal digital tyrants. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to unlock ancient codes in your mind, codes that have been tested by emperors, slaves, and sages for 2,000 years. This isn't about rejecting technology, that would be impractical and unnecessary. It's about reclaiming your mental sovereignty, about transforming yourself from a victim to a master of your own attention. By the end of this video, you'll have 10 revolutionary Stoic principles that will completely transform your relationship with the digital world. Are you ready to discover how a 1st century Roman slave can teach you how to be freer than 99% of people online today? So take a deep breath, mute your notifications for a few minutes, and get ready for a journey that will free your mind from the most sophisticated digital prison ever created in the history of humanity. You have power over your mind, not over external events. Realize this, and you will find strength. These words from Marcus Aurelius resonate with special urgency in our times. But there is an even more fundamental concept that Epictetus taught us, a word that may sound strange but carries the power to transform your digital life: prohairesis. Prohairesis is your inviolable capacity for choice and judgment. It's the one thing that no one, not dictators, not algorithms, not the brightest minds in Silicon Valley, can take away from you. It's your last bastion of freedom, and ironically, it's exactly what you hand over to them every time you pick up your phone on autopilot. Think about it. When you wake up and the first thing you do is check WhatsApp, you have just handed over your prohairesis to someone else. Your mind, which was clean and receptive like a blank sheet of paper, is now reacting to other people's moods, urgencies, and dramas. You started the day not as the protagonist of your own story, but as a supporting character in someone else's story. Big tech invests billions in hacking one specific system: your ability to choose. They hire neuroscientists, behavioral psychologists, and addiction specialists to create products that bypass your consciousness and activate your most primitive impulses. The infinite scroll, the strategically timed notifications, the red colors that simulate urgency, all of these are meticulously calculated to make you forget that you have a choice. But here's the first code I'm going to unlock in your mind. Between every digital stimulus and its response, there's a sacred space. In that microscopic space lives your freedom. The Stoics called it the pause of wisdom. Let's practice this right now. The next time you feel the urge to check your phone, and it will happen, maybe even before this video is over, don't resist the urge. Instead, notice it. Feel the physical sensation in your hand, the subtle anxiety in your chest, the mind creating elaborate justifications for why you need to check it now. Now comes the revolutionary part. Ask yourself, am I consciously choosing this, or am I being chosen by it? This simple question is like throwing a bucket of ice water on autopilot. Suddenly, you're back in the driver's seat of your own mind. But it doesn't stop there. The Stoics had an even more powerful technique called the nightly examination. Every night before going to sleep, Marcus Aurelius would review his day. When did I act wisely? When did I act impulsively? Adapt that to your digital life. How many times today did you use technology consciously versus how many times were you used by it? The goal is not perfection, it's increasing awareness. Each time you can create that sacred pause between impulse and action, you are strengthening your proherasis muscle. It's like working out at the gym. It's hard at first, but gradually you get stronger. Imagine what your life would be like if, instead of automatically reacting to every ping, buzz, and notification, you responded only after a conscious choice. Imagine the peace of mind that comes with knowing that you are in control, that your attention is yours and you direct it intentionally. This is the first transformation that happens when you master your digital proherasis. You stop being a product of other people's technology and become the protagonist of your own story again. But this is just the beginning. Because when you truly understand what is under your control, you will have to face an even more subtle enemy. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants, Epictetus taught. But what if I told you that big tech has turned this wisdom upside down, creating artificial needs that you didn't even know you had? What if the real addiction of the 21st century wasn't drugs or alcohol, but the very need to be connected? Have you ever found yourself checking Instagram even though you know there's nothing new? Ever felt that inexplicable anxiety when your internet is slow? Ever picked up your phone to do something specific and 20 minutes later found yourself lost in a black hole of random content? Welcome to digital addiction, the most socially acceptable and technologically sophisticated addiction in history. Epictetus knew something that Silicon Valley executives rediscovered 2,000 years later: we are not slaves to things, but to our desires for things. The difference is that Epictetus wanted to free us from those desires, while tech companies want to amplify and monetize them. Let's unlock the second code in your mind: your digital impulses are not yours. They have been carefully programmed by teams of neuroscientists who have studied how your brain works better than you have. Infinite scrolling mimics the hunting behavior of our ancestors. You never know when you're going to find something important. Notifications are programmed using the same principles as casinos: intermittent rewards that create stronger addiction than constant rewards. But here's the most disturbing part: you've been conditioned to confuse impulse with need. When your brain screams, "I need to check my messages now," you believe that's a legitimate need. In reality, it's just your reward system being hijacked by algorithms designed for that. The Stoics had a powerful technique for breaking this cycle: detached observation of your own desires. Instead of resisting the urge, which usually makes it stronger, you observe it like a scientist observing an interesting phenomenon. How curious, you might think. My brain is telling me I need to check my phone right now. Where's this feeling coming from? What does it really want? More often than not, what your brain really wants isn't information, it's dopamine. Bored? Anxious? Procrastinating on something important? Your phone has become your default escape mechanism. But once you identify the real need behind the urge, you can address it in healthier ways. Feeling bored? Instead of mindlessly scrolling, how about taking 3 deep breaths or staring out the window for 30 seconds? Anxiety? Instead of seeking digital distraction, how about naming the emotion, "I'm anxious about that meeting"? Procrastination? Maybe it's time to tackle the task you're avoiding, not escape into the digital world. Marcus Aurelius practiced something he called desire examination. Before acting on any desire, he would ask himself, does this desire bring me closer to the person I want to be or further away from that person? Adapt that to digital. Does this cell phone use bring me closer to my goals or further away from them? The answer is almost always clear, but it takes courage to be honest with yourself. Checking social media when you should be working isn't getting you closer to anything you really want. Endless scrolling before bed doesn't improve your quality of sleep or your productivity the next day. But there is a crucial difference between self-control based on fear, "I can't use my phone because it's bad," and discipline based on wisdom, "I choose to use my phone consciously because I have bigger goals." The former creates tension and eventually breaks down. The latter creates genuine freedom. Digital addiction thrives on unconsciousness. It dies in the light of conscious observation. Every time you pause to examine an impulse before acting on it, you are practicing the discipline of desire that Epictetus taught. And each small victory makes the next one easier. But when you can observe your desires wisely, an even deeper question emerges: How much of your one life are you willing to trade for digital distraction? It is not what we face that troubles us, but our thoughts about what we face. Marcus Aurelius wrote these words knowing that one day he would die. But what if I told you there was a more subtle death happening right now, the silent death of your most precious moments, one scroll at a time? Memento mori, remember that you will die, was the whisper that slaves would make in the ears of Roman generals during triumphal parades. Not to scare them, but to remind them of what really matters. Today, I need to whisper something similar in your ear. Remember that your time is running out, one post at a time. Let's do a math that will change your perspective forever. If you spend 3 hours a day on social media, and that's a conservative estimate for most people, that's 1,095 hours a year. Do you know what that means? 45 full 24-hour days. That's almost 2 full months of your life, every year, consuming content that you probably won't even remember until next week. Over 20 years, that adds up to 900 days, almost 2.5 years of your life. Imagine all the things you could learn, create, experience, or share with real people in 2.5 years. Now imagine explaining to your 80-year-old self why you chose to trade that time for endless feeds of content that didn't change your life at all. But here is the third code I will unlock in your mind. The awareness of finitude should not paralyze you, it should liberate you. When Marcus Aurelius meditated on death, it was not to become depressed, but to live with greater intensity and purpose. There's a devastatingly effective Stoic exercise I want you to try right now. It's called the deathbed test. Imagine you only have 1 week left to live, 7 days to say goodbye to this world. With that in mind, would you spend those last precious hours scrolling through your Instagram feed? Checking work emails? Arguing with strangers in the YouTube comments? The obvious answer is no. You would hug your children longer. You would have deeper conversations with the people you love. You would contemplate the beauty of the world. You would reflect on the meaning of your existence. You would make peace with your choices. Basically, you would live a completely different life. Now comes the disturbing question: if you wouldn't do these digital things in your last week, why are you doing them in your first weeks, months, and years? Why are you treating infinite time as if you had it, when in fact every moment that passes is a moment that will never come back? Digital memento mori is not about living in fear of death, it's about living in full awareness of life. It's about realizing that every time you consciously choose not to check your phone, you are choosing to live and not be distracted. Every moment of genuine presence is a moment stolen from the clutches of artificial urgency. The Stoics had a powerful practice. At the end of each day, they would ask themselves, if I were to die today, would I be satisfied with how I spent this day? Adapt that for the digital age. If I were to die today, would I be satisfied with how I spent my attention? Have the things I've consumed online brought me closer to the person I want to be? The uncomfortable truth is that most of us are living as if we have infinite time, wasting our most precious days chasing entertainment that we forget about 5 minutes after consuming. But when you truly embrace your mortality, something magical happens. You stop living on autopilot and start consciously choosing where to invest your limited attention. And it is precisely this expanded consciousness that takes us to the next level of freedom, the ability to see our digital problems from the perspective of the cosmos. You can free yourself from your pain if you rise above your particular circumstances and see the bigger picture. Marcus Aurelius wrote these words looking out over the vast empire he ruled, but also contemplating something even bigger, the immensity of the cosmos and his own smallness within it. Today, I'm going to teach you how to use this same technique to free yourself from the tyranny of digital problems that seem enormous but are actually microscopic. Imagine the scene: you post something on social media and are anxiously waiting for the likes. You spend the day checking how many people reacted. You analyze every comment. You get upset if someone disagrees. You lose sleep thinking about the opinions of people you don't even know personally. Your mood for the entire day depends on algorithms and the validation of strangers. Sound familiar? Now I want you to practice with me the fourth code I'm going to unlock: view from above. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine that you're leaving your body, floating above yourself looking down. You see a person worried about likes on a little screen. Now go up higher, see your house, your neighborhood, your city. Keep going up, see your state, your country, the continent. Higher still, see planet Earth, a little blue ball lost in space. Keep climbing. See the solar system, where Earth is an inconspicuous speck. See the Milky Way, where our solar system is less than a grain of sand. Keep climbing until you see billions of galaxies stretching into infinity. Now, from this cosmic perspective, return to the original problem. You, worried about likes on a tiny screen, on a microscopic planet, on an irrelevant solar system, in a galaxy lost among billions. What does the anxiety for likes feel like now? Marcus Aurelius did exactly that when he faced political pressures that seemed enormous. He reminded himself that, from the perspective of the cosmos and eternity, even wars and crises of empire were just temporary ripples in an infinite ocean. But view from above isn't about minimizing your feelings, it's about sizing them up. When you realize that your anxiety about negative feedback is a storm in a cosmic teapot, you don't suppress the anxiety, you see it for what it is, a disproportionately large reaction to a disproportionately small event. Think about it. 100 years from now, no one will remember the post you made today. 1,000 years from now, our civilization as we know it may not even exist. 1 million years from now, our species may have evolved into something completely different. 1 billion years from now, the sun itself may have changed drastically. And you're losing sleep over an Instagram comment? This perspective doesn't make your life meaningless, on the contrary, it makes every genuine moment more precious. If everything is temporary and microscopic on the cosmic scale, then every real hug, every deep conversation, every moment of contemplation, every act of kindness becomes infinitely more valuable than any digital drama. The ancients had an expression, sub specie eternitatis, from the perspective of eternity. When you view your digital problems from this perspective, something interesting happens. You stop reacting emotionally to things that don't deserve your emotional energy. Did someone criticize you on social media? From a cosmic perspective, two sentient dust particles exchanged electromagnetic vibrations for a few seconds. Didn't get the likes you were hoping for? A tiny creature on a rocky planet was temporarily disappointed by the reaction of other tiny creatures to colorful symbols on a screen. Did your post go viral? Congratulations, you got the fragmented attention of a few million evolved apes for a few seconds. This perspective is not cynicism, it's freedom. Freedom from being a slave to external validation. Freedom from having your mood dictated by algorithms. Freedom to consciously choose where to invest your limited emotional energy. And when you master this cosmic perspective, you're ready for the next level, imagining completely losing the thing you think you can't live without. Establish for yourself from the beginning a certain character and manner of life, which you will observe both when you are alone and when you are with others. Epictetus knew that true strength comes not from having much, but from needing little. And today I'm going to teach you the fifth code to hack your digital addiction, the counterintuitive art of imagining losing the thing you think you can't live without. Negative visualization, or premeditatio malorum, was a favorite exercise of the Stoics. Not because they were pessimists, but because they understood a profound psychological truth: we only truly value what we know we can lose. But what if I told you that you could use this ancient technique to free yourself from the most subtle and dangerous digital addiction of our time? Let's do a thought experiment right now. Imagine that when you wake up tomorrow, you won't have access to any digital devices for a full 24 hours. No cell phone, computer, tablet, smart TV. How would your body react in the first few minutes? Do you feel anxiety rising just thinking about it? This physical reaction is evidence of how deeply your peace of mind has become dependent on external stimuli. Now let's go deeper. Imagine that social media simply ceased to exist overnight. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, they were all gone forever. After the initial shock, what would your life be like? What would you fill the hours you once spent scrolling with? What projects would you finally have time to start? What deeper conversations would you have with the people around you? The disturbing truth is that most people would find that they have lost almost nothing essential. They have lost distraction, passive entertainment, artificial validation, but they have lost nothing that actually contributes to a meaningful life. In fact, most would find that they have gained something incalculably valuable: time to truly live. The Stoics practiced negative visualization not to become pessimists, but to develop genuine gratitude and emotional independence. When Seneca imagined losing his fortune, it wasn't to become depressed, but to remind himself that his happiness didn't depend on external possessions. When you imagine living without constant technology, you realize that your peace of mind doesn't have to rely on digital dopamine. But here's the most powerful part of the exercise. After imagining the loss, you realize that you would not only survive, but potentially thrive. Your creative mind, no longer addicted to constant stimulation, would begin to generate ideas of its own. Your relationships, no longer mediated by screens, would deepen. Your ability to focus, no longer fragmented by notifications, would strengthen dramatically. This visualization of loss is not about becoming a technological hermit. It's about developing a healthy, non-dependent relationship with digital tools. When you know deep down that you can live without them, you can consciously choose when and how to use them, rather than being used by them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life." In the digital age, this has never been truer or harder to remember. When you practice negative visualization with technology, you discover that you need far less digital stimulation than you thought to live a rich and meaningful life. And this discovery of one's own natural independence leads directly to the next level of freedom, the art of using technology with conscious moderation, not unconscious compulsion. Nothing in excess. These words engraved on the Temple of Delphi in ancient Greece resonate with special urgency in our times. But temperance does not mean deprivation, it means using everything in the right measure, at the right time, for the right reason. And today I will unlock the sixth code in your mind: how to transform the art of moderation into a superpower that very few people master in the digital age. Temperance is perhaps the most contradictory virtue of our time. We live in an economy that depends on your overconsumption to survive. Algorithms are specifically programmed to break your capacity for moderation. The very infrastructure of social media, infinite scroll, autoplay, push notifications, was designed by neuroscience experts to bypass your natural satiety mechanisms. It's like trying to diet while living in a candy factory where machines pour sugar into your mouth 24 hours a day. The difference is that with food, you feel when you're full. With digital content, there's no satiety mechanism. Your brain never says, "Enough, I've consumed enough information for today." That's why you can spend 3 hours scrolling and still feel like you want to keep going. But the Stoics had an elegant solution for this. Based on a deep insight into human nature, we don't need to eliminate pleasures, we need to learn to savor them consciously. The difference between gluttony and genuine pleasure is the same difference between compulsive scrolling and intentional digital use. Let's start with an honest assessment. For an entire day, write down every time you pick up your phone. Don't judge, just notice. Most people find that they pick up their device more than 150 times a day. That's about once every 6 minutes of waking. Each check takes you out of the present moment and into an artificial reality created by others. Now comes the revolutionary part. Instead of trying to stop altogether, you'll learn to use technology the way the Stoics used pleasure, with conscious boundaries set before temptation sets in. Marcus Aurelius didn't avoid imperial feasts, but he decided in advance how much wine he would drink and when he would leave. Apply this to the digital world. Before you open any app, ask yourself 3 questions. Why am I opening this now? How much time will I spend here? How will I know when to stop? Without these conscious decisions made up front, you're handing over control to algorithms designed to maximize your screen time, not your well-being. Digital temperance also means creating technology-free sacred zones. Medieval monasteries had specific times for each activity: work, prayer, meals, rest. You can create a modern version: no screens first thing in the morning, no phones during meals, no devices in the bedroom after a certain time. But the most profound aspect of Stoic temperance is the ability to say no, not out of external obligation, but out of internal choice. When you develop this ability, something magical happens. You begin to genuinely savor the digital experiences you consciously choose, rather than compulsively consume them. Imagine the difference between watching a movie you deliberately chose versus watching something just to fill time. Or between reading an article because it's genuinely interesting versus endlessly scrolling without purpose. The first experience is rich, memorable, nourishing. The second is empty, forgettable, draining. Seneca practiced voluntary fasts, periods of consciously giving up luxuries to strengthen his character and better appreciate when he had them. You can apply this digitally, fasting for an hour, a half day, or an entire weekend without social media. Not as punishment, but as an exercise in strengthening your will. The paradox of digital temperance is that the less you use technology compulsively, the more you appreciate it when you use it intentionally. Your moments of digital connection become more meaningful because they are chosen, not automatic. And this higher quality of digital experience prepares your mind for the next level of Stoic wisdom. And when you master the art of using technology in moderation, an even deeper question naturally arises: how do you transform the fear of missing out into the joy of being present with what really matters? FOMO, fear of missing out, may be the most widespread psychological epidemic of the 21st century. But what if I told you that the Stoics had a cure for this mental illness 2,000 years before social media existed? What if true freedom isn't about not missing out on anything, but about finding deep joy in consciously missing out on the things that don't matter? Ataraxia, this Greek word, means undisturbed tranquility of mind. It was the state that every Stoic philosopher sought, an inner serenity so solid that external storms could not shake it. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire in constant turmoil, but he maintained ataraxia because he knew how to distinguish between what truly deserved his attention and what was just noise. Today, your smartphone is specifically designed to destroy your ataraxia. Every notification creates an artificial sense of urgency. Every story you skip creates a micro-anxiety that you're missing something important. Every post you don't see feeds the illusion that there's a more interesting life happening alongside yours. But here's the seventh code I'm going to unlock in your mind. FOMO is a cognitive illusion based on a false premise. The false premise is that there is an ideal amount of information you should consume in order to be complete or up to date. The truth is that no matter how many hours you spend online, there will always be infinitely more content that you haven't seen. Think about it mathematically: 500 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every minute. Even if you watched content 24 hours a day, without stopping to eat or sleep, you'd still be 499 hours behind every minute. FOMO isn't about being up to date, it's about an impossible war against infinity. But the Stoics had an elegant strategy for dealing with infinity: radical focus on what is within your control. You can't control how many things happen in the world. You can control how many of those things you choose to invest your limited attention in. You can't control how many invitations you receive. You can control which ones you accept based on your values, not on your fear of exclusion. There's a devastatingly effective Stoic exercise for turning FOMO into JOMO, joy of missing out. Every time you feel that familiar anxiety about missing out on something online, stop and ask yourself, if I were to consume this information, how would it concretely change my life in the next 24 hours? In the overwhelming majority of cases, the honest answer is, I wouldn't change a thing. You wouldn't become wiser, more connected to your loved ones, more productive in your projects, or closer to your goals. You'd just temporarily satisfy an artificial mental itch created by algorithms. Marcus Aurelius practiced something he called conscious sufficiency, recognizing when you have enough information to make the decisions you need to make today. In the digital age, that's a rare superpower. Most people continue to consume information long past the point where it becomes useful, just to soothe the anxiety of not knowing everything. But there's an even deeper layer of ataraxia, realizing that your life is interesting enough. The conversation you can have with your partner today is richer than any podcast. The walk you can take in your neighborhood offers more real beauty than any Instagram feed. The book sitting on your nightstand contains more wisdom than any Twitter thread. FOMO thrives when you treat your own life as Plan B. Ataraxia flourishes when you realize that your life, with all its imperfections and seemingly mundane routines, is the only place you can truly live. Everything else is spectatorship. The Stoics had a powerful phrase: present moment, only moment. When you are truly present in the present moment, FOMO becomes impossible. How can you be afraid of missing out on something that's happening somewhere else when you're completely absorbed in what's happening here and now? And this radical presence in the present moment leads us naturally to the next code: how to create a morning routine that programs your mind for wisdom before the digital world programs it for reactivity. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I will deal with today will be nosy, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and ill-tempered. This is how Marcus Aurelius began each day, not with pessimism, but with strategic mental preparation. Imagine if you knew that you begin each day staring at a little screen where algorithms filter the most controversial and emotionally charged information from the entire planet. The first moments after waking up are the most precious of your day. Your mind is clear, receptive, full of potential. It's like a blank sheet of paper waiting to be written on. And what do most people do with this pure mental state? They immediately hand it over to Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and CEOs of companies that profit from their fragmented attention. When you reach for your phone in the first few minutes after waking up, something neurologically devastating happens. Your brain, which was in its natural creative and contemplative mode upon waking, is immediately reprogrammed into reactive mode. Instead of setting your own priorities for the day, you let algorithms dictate what you're going to think, feel, and worry about. Here's the 8th code I'm going to unlock: the first hour of your day programs the next 23. If you start by reacting to notifications, messages, and feeds, your brain assumes that the day will be about reacting to external stimuli. If you start with reflection, intention, and mental preparation, your brain programs itself for proactivity and wisdom. Marcus Aurelius had a non-negotiable morning routine. Before dealing with matters of empire, he spent time preparing his mind philosophically. He wrote reflections, reviewed Stoic principles, set intentions for the day. Not because he had time to spare, he ruled an empire, but because he knew that without this mental preparation, he would be reactive all day long. Let's create your own modern version of the Stoic morning routine. First, keep your phone out of the bedroom. Get an analog alarm clock. This one change will completely transform the quality of your waking life. Instead of starting your day checking who texted you during the night, you'll start with a few minutes of precious silence. Second, before you touch any device, practice the 3 sacred moments. Moment 1, gratitude. 3 specific things you are genuinely grateful for today. Not generic, I am grateful for life, but specific, I am grateful for waking up without a headache, for having coffee in the kitchen, for being able to hear the birds outside. Moment 2, intention. How do you want to behave today? What kind of person do you want to be in the interactions you will have? Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, I will practice patience, kindness, and wisdom. Adapt for digital, I will use technology consciously, respond to messages with presence, and not get caught up in online drama. Step 3, positive visualization. Mentally see your day going well. Not unrealistic fantasy, but you navigating challenges wisely, staying calm in stressful situations, making choices that align with your values. Athletes call this mental rehearsal. You're rehearsing being the person you want to be. Only after these 3 moments can you consciously choose to connect to the digital world. But now you connect as the protagonist of your own story, not as a reactive victim of algorithms. The difference in the quality of your day will be dramatic. Instead of starting out defensively, reacting to what others want from your attention, you start out proactively, knowing who you are and how you want to navigate your day. This morning transformation creates momentum that carries over into the next few hours. And once you've mastered the power of starting your day right, you're ready for the next level: how to become invulnerable to what others say about you in the digital world. You can be hurt only by what is within your own choice. Epictetus knew something that every internet user needs to learn: other people's words only have the power that you consciously choose to give them. But what if I told you that there's a world of difference between not caring about criticism and not being affected by it, and that only one of those strategies actually works in the long run? Online comments are the perfect laboratory for testing your Stoic maturity. Behind screens, people behave in ways they would never dare to behave in person. Anonymity and physical distance unleash impulses that civilization normally keeps under control. You are dealing not just with opinions, but with uninhibited versions of human nature. But here's the ninth code I'm going to unlock in your mind. Online criticism reveals more about the critic than the critic. When someone attacks you digitally, they're projecting their own mental state, their frustrations, their fears, their need to feel superior. You're just the convenient target, not the real cause of the reaction. Think about it. A genuinely happy and balanced person doesn't waste energy attacking strangers online. People who feel good about themselves don't need to put others down to feel bigger. When you understand this deeply, criticism stops being a personal attack and becomes a window into understanding the suffering of others. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire full of people trying to overthrow him, manipulate him, or use him. His strategy was simple. When someone hurts you, ask yourself immediately, what opinion or judgment of that person caused this action? When you see this, you will feel sorry for him, not angry. Apply this to online comments. That person who attacked you on Instagram is probably going through something difficult in real life. That troll on YouTube may be feeling invisible and powerless, using online attacks as the only way to feel relevant. This doesn't excuse the behavior, but it does explain it, and understanding breeds compassion, not anger. But there's an even deeper layer to the digital control dichotomy, distinguishing between helpful criticism and toxic noise. Helpful criticism is specific, constructive, and comes from people who genuinely want to help you improve. Toxic noise is vague, destructive, and comes from people who want to feel superior at your expense. Seneca had a powerful technique. Before responding to any criticism, he would ask himself, does this person have the moral authority to judge me on this issue? If the answer was no, he would simply ignore it. If the answer was yes, he would thank you for the opportunity to grow. Adapt this to online comments. Does this person know you personally? Does he have expertise in the subject? Is he offering constructive feedback or just venting frustrations? Most negative online comments fail all of these criteria. They are opinions from strangers without context about aspects of your life that they don't understand. Giving them emotional weight is like basing your self-worth on the opinion of random people on the street about your outfit. But what about when you decide to respond? The Stoics had a golden rule: respond only if your response can educate, inspire, or soothe. If you're responding to win an argument, prove yourself right, or attack back, you've already lost, even if it feels like you've won. Epictetus taught, don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. The best response to online criticism is to consistently remain the person you choose to be. Haters lose interest when they can't provoke emotional reactions. Trolls tire when there's no drama to fuel. The goal is not to develop an emotional shell that feels nothing. It is to develop emotional discernment that feels deeply what deserves to be felt and serenely ignores what does not deserve your energy. And when you master this selective invulnerability to digital criticism, you're ready for the final, most transformative code: how to create a digital environment that nurtures your wisdom rather than drains your energy. You become what you repeatedly contemplate. Marcus Aurelius knew that our minds are shaped not just by our conscious thoughts, but by the mental environment we choose to live in. In the digital age, this has never been truer or more urgent. Every feed you consume, every channel you follow, every type of content you embrace is literally rewiring your brain, creating the neural patterns that will determine who you become. Most people treat their digital diet like they treat fast food. They eat whatever comes their way, without thinking about the long-term nutritional consequences. But what if you applied the same care you apply to your physical diet to your mental diet? What if you consciously curated a digital environment that made you wiser, calmer, more focused on what really matters? Here's the 10th and final code I'm going to unlock in your mind. You can transform your smartphone from a distraction device into a tool of wisdom. You can transform your social media from sources of anxiety into gardens of inspiration. You can transform your online time from an escape from reality into a preparation for living better in reality. Let's start with a thorough, brutally honest digital audit. Over the next few days, every time you feel any negative emotion after consuming digital content, anxiety, envy, anger, inadequacy, hopelessness, write down exactly what you were consuming. It could be a specific Instagram profile, a YouTube channel, a type of news story, a WhatsApp group. Most people are shocked to learn that 80% of their negative digital emotions come from 20% of their content sources. That 20% is the parasites on your digital sanctuary, content that drains your energy, fragments your attention, and leaves you feeling worse than you were before you consumed it. Now comes the radical part, ruthless unfollowing. Leave toxic groups. Stop following accounts that consistently make you feel bad. It doesn't matter if they're people you know personally, if they have millions of followers, if they post important content. If they drain your energy and peace of mind, they don't deserve access to your attention. But creating a digital sanctuary isn't just about removing the negative, it's about intentionally cultivating the positive. Actively seek out content that inspires you to be better, that teaches you something useful, that connects you with beauty, wisdom, or purpose. Follow philosophers, artists, scientists, and thinkers who elevate your perspective on life. The Stoics had a powerful concept, cosmic sympathy, the idea that we are all connected in a larger web of existence. In the digital age, this becomes literal. Through your content choices, you can connect mentally with the wisest minds of history and the present. You can have Marcus Aurelius whisper wisdom in your ear every morning through a quote app. You can learn from masters you would never meet in person. Create sacred digital rituals. Instead of mindless scrolling, have intentional content consumption sessions. 15 minutes every morning reading something that expands your perspective. Half an hour before bed listening to podcasts that make you think more deeply about life. Weekends reserved for documentaries that educate you instead of entertainment that numbs you. Set up your physical digital environment to support wisdom. Widgets on your phone's home screen that display inspirational quotes instead of social media notifications. Meditation apps in more accessible places than entertainment apps. Wallpaper that reminds you of your values and larger goals. But perhaps the most important aspect of the Stoic digital sanctuary is to remember that technology is a tool, not a destination. The goal of all digital consumption should be to better prepare you to live in the real world. Read about relationships to be a better partner. Study productivity to have more time for what matters. Consume art to see more beauty in everyday life. Marco Aurelio ended each day asking himself, how can I be better tomorrow than I was today? End each digital session by asking yourself, how did this content prepare me to live better? If you can't answer that, it's a sign that you consumed entertainment, not mental nourishment. Your Stoic digital sanctuary is more than just organizing apps, it's a philosophy of life applied to the information age. It's about consciously choosing which influences to have access to your mind, which ideas to cultivate in the garden of your consciousness, which version of yourself to nurture through your digital choices. And when you master this conscious curation of your digital experience, something magical happens. You stop being a product of other people's technology and become an architect of your own wisdom. We've reached the end of a journey that may have completely changed your relationship with technology. But before you turn off this video and head back into the digital world, I want you to pause for a moment and feel the difference in your mind. Do you feel like, just by contemplating these Stoic ideas for a few minutes, something has already begun to shift in your perspective? The 10 codes we unlock together are not just theoretical concepts, they are practical tools tested by 2,000 years of human wisdom. Proheresis gives you back control over your digital choices. Discipline of desire frees you from impulses programmed by algorithms. Memento mori reminds you that time is the most precious resource you have. View from above sizes digital problems in real cosmic perspective. Negative visualization prepares you to live well with less dependence on technology. Temperance teaches you to use digital tools consciously, not compulsively. Turning FOMO into ataraxia gives you peace of mind regardless of what's happening online. Stoic morning exercise programs your mind for wisdom before algorithms program it for reactivity. Dichotomy of Control makes you invulnerable to criticism from people who don't know you. And finally, your digital sanctuary transforms technology from a source of distraction into a tool for personal growth. But knowledge without application is just intellectual entertainment. So here's your challenge for the next 7 days. Pick just one of these principles and practice it consistently for 1 week. Just one. Maybe create that sacred pause before picking up your phone. Maybe implement a device-free morning routine. Maybe do a digital audit and remove 3 sources of content that drain your energy. A small, consistent transformation is infinitely more powerful than big changes that you abandon after a few days. Marcus Aurelius didn't become wise overnight, he practiced Stoic philosophy daily for decades.
If this video resonated with you, I would genuinely like to hear about your experience applying this idea. Share in the comments which principle you chose to implement and what the first few days were like. Your experience may inspire others on the same journey. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notification to be alerted whenever a new video is released. Remember, you are not alone in this fight for mindfulness. We are building a community of people who have chosen to use technology wisely instead of being used by it. Stoic philosophy has survived the collapse of the Roman Empire, the Middle Ages, and 2 World Wars. It will survive the digital age, to and help you thrive in it. Thank you for investing your most precious time with me today. Now go live consciously.